I'll try again. I'm sure most of you know who I am. I'm Bunny. I'm Frohma's sister, and probably obviously the one that's known her the longest.
Yes.
Not quite sure Saul the longest, because I knew Mike first. But anyway, Frohma did ask me to please say something, but she also told me I had to be funny, which isn't that easy when you're talking to basically a room full of strangers, although most of you I've met before. It's been years since I did. Unfortunately, Yost took some of my thunder away, because he said some things that I was going to say.
Only good things.
Only good things. Oh, only good things. But I can go back a little bit earlier than he could. And I think about the day I met Saul.
Okay.
The day I met Saul. I met Saul at my Sweet 16 party. Saul and Frohma were a year ahead of me in high school, and she had just started going out with him and brought him to my Sweet 16 party. That's when I met him, and the gift he gave me was really kind of a presage of what happened the rest of our lives together. He gave me a gift, which was an LP record. And the name of the record was Classical Music for People Who Hate Classical Music. And that has been the next 50 years, that was the theme of our conversations.
It's true.
It is true, I know. It is true. And I have to say that my mother was a little concerned. Frohma is a couple of years older than I am, but I did get married 6 months before they did. And my mother was very concerned. She loved my fiance and then my husband. Absolutely thought the world began and ended with him. Wasn't too sure about Saul. Was very concerned about Saul, in fact. And she used to say things like, why couldn't he be more like David? It would have been so nice. Now, I have to say, they're here 50 years later.
I'm not David.
He's not David. This is David's son, though. But anyway, I tell you, the beginning of their married life was not as easy. Looking at them now and all they've done over these 50 years and all they've accomplished and all the people they've met and the life they lead, which has always been a very rich life, did not have a very auspicious beginning. And I'll tell you one little story about what happened. Their wedding day. We were married, both David and I and Frohma and Saul were married in Philadelphia. None of us lived in Philadelphia. We were from New York, all of us. But we were married in Philadelphia, basically very quickly because my grandfather could not travel. So we both were married where he lived. So the weddings were in Philadelphia. The day of their wedding, which was on a Sunday morning, noontime or whatever, everybody was traveling down to Philadelphia from New York for the wedding. My mother was very upset because, as far as she was concerned, Saul and his parents should have come down the day before. They should not have waited until Sunday morning to drive to Philadelphia. Well, as it turned out, that would have been a little bit better. Because wedding is planned, everything is set, and guess who hasn't shown up? The groom. The groom and his parents were waiting and were waiting and were waiting. And we were married in one of these big wedding reception halls that have a wedding every half hour, and everything is timed beautifully. And their period is gone. We waited another half hour, no groom. 2.5 hours later, all of the food that had been prepared for this wonderful meal that we were going to have was wasted. Couldn't use it anymore.
It was given to somebody else.
It was given, actually they used it for somebody else. They ended up, there was something about the flowers that they had to borrow or change or something. The reception areas had to be shifted around because there was another wedding that was due to start then, rather than theirs. What had happened was there was a speed trap on the New Jersey Turnpike. one of these major speed traps. They had cars lined up for miles giving them tickets. Now, my then husband, David, and I were stopped in that same speed trap. Fortunately for us, the trooper was a student, a part-time student at Rutgers University, and so was my husband. So they became buddies and they let us go. Everybody else was stuck there for almost 2 hours while they were writing tickets. So that was the beginning of their married life.
But that's not why my parents and I were late. My father's car blew a piston.
I didn't know that.
And we got picked up by somebody else going to the wedding.
Okay.
And driven to the wedding by, I think it was my, Natalie, your father. I think.
Got proof?
There's a lot you can repress if you want to.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a second. Let me backtrack a little bit because I was going to start this little speech with a comment about one nice thing about celebrating 50 years of anything is nobody's memory is any good. I can say anything. They won't remember. So I can tell my stories.
Okay,
Don't interrupt them.
Go ahead.
And I'm sticking to it. But I do want to also add a little bit about some of the things that Saul ended up doing that made my life easier, much easier over the years. It just so happened, as I said, we all came from New York. My mother, who was a widow, lived in New York. Saul's mother, who was a widow, lived in New York. Saul had one brother, Frohma had one sister. Neither of us lived anywhere near New York. I've never lived closer than 200 miles. Now it's 1,500, but it was 200 miles apart. So guess whose responsibility it was to take care of Mom? Both moms. And Saul spent the better part of 40 years taking care of both mothers because we weren't around. So thank you for that, for all those years. Anyway, congratulations. It's been great. It's been fun, mostly. And I'm still not a big classical music fan.
So I've noticed.
Even though I do go to the symphony at least once a month. Other than that, but I think of you every time I go. I'm glad you're all here, and I'm glad you're here to share my family's joy.
Very nice.